When we say that the change that we seek, as unfortunate as this is for some people to come to terms with, that doesn't mean the populist left cannot be involved. But Jen, you've been saying for the longest time, the change is going to come from the populist right. That's where it will happen.
Because the Democrats are too cowardly and too incapable. And really, they're not there for anything other than controlled opposition and MIC resistance. They're not there to actually accomplish anything. So why would they do something wherein to accomplish something when their whole purpose is to not accomplish anything? And I do believe that any sort of crack in the duopoly is only going to come on the Republican side. I have been saying that because I believe that to be true. So I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe this is sort of what that looks like, but the Democrats are incapable. They're incapable.
Well, this is just another example of that, because they are unwilling to hold their feet to the fire. It's like, this is what you have to understand about leverage. If you do not, especially if you have cards to play, like if you have the ability to actually create a movement and you are willing to be hated. You see, this is the other thing about liberals in general. They don't like being hated. They don't like people actually coming for them because they don't do their job. Too many times people just, again, this is why we always say the reason why liberals are so dangerous compared to conservatives is that more often than not, they are the ones who are okay with things like flock cameras, with giving up your rights, because I have to have a sense of security. I need to feel safe in my suburban enclave where I have a gate and, the white picket fence and all that shit matters to me. Not about how this entire system is collapsing underneath our feet as we speak. But with that being said, when people decide that they are going to take charge, where they are actually going to fight, that's the difference between what Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Joe Kent, and evidently Tucker Carlson are now doing. They are dead serious about really creating a wedge in the GOP and saying, we are either going to take over the GOP with an America First movement, or we are completely breaking away from the party and we will bring millions of people into our movement. And you better believe that with the likes of Candace Owens and a handful of others, they do have the ability to do that. They do. And the reason we know for sure that that's what's going to happen, and this is one of the reasons why they are savvy enough to see this happening before anybody else does, they know that once the Trump phenomenon is over, that party has nothing to grab onto. There is nothing. He built it. It will die with him. Who in the, you talk about the Democrats don't have anybody. Who do the Republicans have? If it's not Trump.
It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter, because the only people less popular than Trump are the Democrats. So, again, it's a math thing. The math ain't mathin' for the Dems. It just isn't.
Yep.
But I mean, and I want to be very clear, and I know that I have said this, but it bears repeating. None of these people are my people. Not one of these people are my people. I'm not in line with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, or Tucker Carlson on anything really other than war and Israel. That's it. So these are not my people. I just happened to be the person I know that predicted that these were the people that were going to do this.
Yeah. Well, eventually the people that actually have to, this is the difference between, again, somebody like Shama Sawant and somebody like this Mila Kuros, is that Shama, if this is the issue at hand here, Shama will break bread with somebody like this. Heck, even probably someone like Abdul Sayed would. We saw what Zoran did when he went to meet with Trump at the White House. They understand their power. They understand what needs to be done here. And so in this case, MAGA Trump critics Greene, Massie, Carlson meet, tout new movement. This picture shows a group of leading MAGA rebels. Well, they're America First rebels. Let's be clear. The MAGA, the separation is actually MAGA to America First. That's the separation. Who have clashed with President Trump, seated around a wooden table, smiling as they pose for the camera in exile, including in the gathering media personality Tucker Carlson, former Republicans representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. Massie's still there for a little while longer, and former Trump administration counterterrorism official Joe Kent. Greene provided the caption. We said no more foreign wars, and we meant it and supported Donald Trump. Please scroll, Ben.
Somebody asking me about flock cameras. I'm opposed to any cameras of any brand.
1,000%. Because he made that promise. Greene wrote in sharing the photo August 1st, but he's betrayed us all. Our commitment is America first for all Americans, right, left, and center. The movement has begun. Let me tell you, they loved having her on the Hill. You see how many... This is when you know you have a dynamic... Hold on a minute, Ben. This is when you know you have a dynamic personality. You see congressional representatives walking the halls of Congress around Capitol Hill, and they have maybe, a handful of different members of the media that will be following them around. But Marjorie here has at least probably 30 to 40 members of the media that are swarming her right now because they want her soundbite. Now, they do the same, with Alex to a certain degree, but there's no question that she is a brand. She is a personality. A lot of people like her. She's not everybody's cup of tea, but she definitely is effective. So I would not discount whatever it is that she's trying right now. Frankly, I would like to, this is a situation where having Andrew Yang back on the podcast would actually be pretty beneficial, because if you're going to attempt to do this, there is a lot of work that goes into this, and almost universally it fails. So whatever they're trying to do, there better be a clear-cut mission as to what that is. Keep scrolling, Ben. Greene's post attracted significant attention as she and Carlson talked about backing a new political party amid their criticism of Trump. It was shared 15,000 times on X and viewed nearly 10 million times. The Maverick MAGA confab, God, they really like to whip out that thesaurus to try to impress upon people, like they're so edgy. Comes as Trump's policies generate increasing blowback on the right, alienating some prominent supporters and dividing the GOP heading into the midterms. Greene, Carlson, Massie, and Kent all have been critical of the Iran war, with Kent resigning from the Trump administration over his concerns. MAGA Iran war critics say it goes against the president's campaign promises to avoid foreign entanglements and focus on America first policies. All right, first of all, and this should probably come as no surprise to anybody, they haven't said one single word in this article. This is Yahoo. They haven't said one single word about the fact that it was actually the genocide in Gaza by the Israelis against the Palestinians, that is where this all started from. The Iran war is a component of why they're doing this.
Well, they're skipping over the Gaza part because we're just going to pretend that didn't happen. But I would suggest, though, that these people have largely were against war with Iran long before the Gaza situation erupted 3 years ago. Absolutely. These are people that have just generally been against that, period.
Massie and Greene also clashed with Trump over the Epstein files, pushing legislation.
His hair is not purple. Peter's hair is not purple.
It's purple. I lied. I dyed it purple. Pushing legislation to release the government's records on accused sex trafficker and Israel spy Jeffrey Epstein, despite Trump's opposition. It's a really bad idea. Don't do it. The president has responded to the America First criticism by lashing out repeatedly at dissenters, prompting Greene, once a top Trump supporter, not to run for re-election, and Massie to lose his primary. Greene's talk of a new movement suggests they aren't going away and continue to apply pressure on the GOP as the party tries to unify ahead of an election that will decide control of Congress. Yeah, there's no unification.
As if that matters. As if it matters who's in control of Congress. Huh. Because I kind of remember Obama having a supermajority at some point, and that didn't seem to do shit. So, yeah, just one more Democrat will make the difference.
Carlson said in a recent interview that I'm going to help build a third party. Democrats and Republicans are in lockstep on war in the Middle East and other issues, Carlson said, adding the government should focus on the welfare of its own people. Tucker Carlson, how come you weren't saying this 10 years ago, Tucker? How come you weren't? He always had a soft spot for Bernie in a kind of a cute way, but maybe this is who he is. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you need to be a traitor to your class. And in the case of Tucker Carlson, he's certainly saying the things that would imply that he is being a traitor to his class. And the fact that he's doing this right now to the GOP, hey, this is the difference between somebody like what they're doing versus what somebody like Quiros and the DSA claim to be doing. But when push comes to shove, they will always fall in line for the Democratic establishment. And that is the difference.
Guys, Peter's hair is not purple. It's just not. There's obviously a reflection of something going on in his lighting that's making his hair look purple, but it's not purple. So you guys are just... they're just going crazy in there about it.
You're coming me all wrong. It's the wrong tone. You complain about my hair and you're not talking about the topic we're talking about here. That's more important. So pay attention. I don't want to go walking all over your faces and behinds and all that. It's not me, but I'll do it if I have to.
Let me just say, like, I also do find when you say, well, why didn't Tucker say anything sooner, right? Like why is this now a thing? And that's exactly why this to me screams of controlled opposition, but for the Republicans. The controlled opposition in the Democratic Party has been a complete failure because we see it. So you're right. This is a little bit better. They're doing a much better theatrical performance and making it look like actual opposition. Whether or not it is remains to be determined. But I would, remind everybody that we thought that was Bernie too, right? Like that was the premise but at the end of the day, it's just to sort of keep you within the duopoly by giving you a hint that there might be some sort of real opposition.
And therein also lies the rub. The more these situations happen, and I hope that Greene and Massie and Carlson and Kent and the like are all aware of this. This country is ready for pitchforks. This country is ready for guillotines. And if you keep breaking their heart, they're going to break your neck. That's where we're going now. And that's why when Quiros comes out and makes that statement, and listen, she should be hung out to dry for what she said, because that completely shows her entire ass. She had the audacity to send out a tweet afterwards saying that I misspoke. How many times did you misspeak in that 2.5-minute statement? Like 7 or 8 times? You misspeak once. You misspeak 7 or 8 times. That means that you're a liar. Period. Greene previously said she's in talks to launch a new party. I think there's a group of us that if we decide to align, we could launch a true America-focused party that doesn't fall into the traps of Democrats and Republicans. She said on Piers Morgan Uncensored, while also acknowledging the difficulties of creating a third party, which is very true. And so here is her post, and here is the photo, the infamous photo that now everybody's talking about. Ben, scroll, please. So this is from, it's a small photo. It's a little hard to make out, but it is from Tucker Carlson's dining table at his home in Maine. And as you can see, it's sort of the Knights of the Round Table type thing. What are we going to do here? Listen, I appreciate their efforts. Where are the people in left politics saying we are going to break the Democratic Party if they don't adhere to the will of the issues that matter to us? Where's that coming from? I don't see it. And you have said repeatedly that they are never going to fully break away from the Democratic Party. They don't have it in them. They're too fucking cowardly to do it.
Yes. And now we'll see if that same thing applies on the right. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, them doing this again, yeah, I appreciate the effort and I appreciate the stance, but it doesn't really do anything to further my mission and my objectives because I am not an America First person. I think that sounds scarily nationalistic. I am not a fan of that. I think that's the kind of mindset that leads itself even down a more dangerous pathway. And I'm just not with that either. So these people, just because they're anti-Israel, this doesn't offer me anything politically.
Well, that's the difference between you and I. I actually am America First. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm America only. And that's the danger, because America First and America Only are very different concepts. And you are seeing a lot of people out there who just want to burn shit to the ground who are saying America Only. basically saying, fuck the rest of the world. We don't have to deal with anybody. You want to talk about real economic catastrophe? We're going to talk about that with Dmitry, how Iran literally can step on our throats at any moment that they want to. They literally have us by our balls and our throats.
I hear you guys as far as like America over Israel, but this isn't about America over Israel. This is me saying, I don't give a shit about your imaginary lines. Humanity first, and how we treat people is way more important to me than your imaginary lines and your ridiculous flag. Seriously, which was all made up just to create some sort of semblance of a real country and a real culture, because we really don't have any, just like the Zio state. We're just
Correct.
older
That's
by
true.
150 years.
That's true.
Or more. So at the end of the day, we're just as much of a farce as they are. And the whole red, white, and blue and all of that shit, and doubling down on all that and that mindset and what these guys are talking about, while you might feel like you have the right amount of patriotism, I suggest that the mindset of America first is xenophobic, nationalistic, and inherently bigoted. So they can choose to apply it however they want to. And I'm sure there'll be people in there for whatever their reasons. But yeah, I'm not with that.
It turns out that according to a new AP NORC poll, found that 64% of Americans believe the war has not been worthwhile. Yeah, you think? This is 2 out of every 3 Americans who believe that this is not worth it. And this is without them even knowing the depths of which our State Department has lied to the public about how many American soldiers have been killed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you can imagine that it is an astronomically high number in terms of how many have actually been killed.
How could it not be? All of our bases, from my understanding, are now inoperable in the Gulf states. So that, and now we're even they're being hit as far west as Jordan. So now what we're talking about is Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia have all been taking a beating. And our bases are inoperable. So that couldn't have happened with just a handful of dead people. And then Iran has been targeting the hotels where they know that our service members have been evacuated to. So there's no way it's under 20 people. So then we're suggesting that only under 20 people worked and staffed all of those bases in the Gulf states. That's what we're supposed to believe.
Yeah, they're trying to, Kenman's right. They're saying that only 50 of them have been killed. I mean, in what universe do people actually think that this is real? And this is also, again, my vision of America first is a lot different than, again, the vision that perhaps certain people who fancy themselves as exceptionally nationalistic. Again, I'm not that person. However, I do believe in the American people and our ability to be a nation that could be a hell of a lot better than what we are. We have 2 things working against us at the same time. We have a ruling class that literally hates our guts, that thinks we are completely expendable. That includes not just our education and our healthcare. This includes our air and our water. This includes our infrastructure. And this includes the future of our economy.
And I want to say it is definitely in hundreds and thousands, for sure. And I forgot to tell you this, and I don't know if you know this, Peter, but I was watching, my favorite, whether I was on Dialogue Works or whatever, and Larry Johnson was saying that he has a friend at our hospital that our military uses in Germany. I cannot for life remember the name. You guys know, whatever the base hospital that we use in Germany. And Larry was told by a friend of his that they had just requested 150 additional medics, not assistants, not nurses, medics, 150. Now, if you figure out the math of how many people each medic would be caring for, like how you would do that, you're not asking for 150 medics to care for 50 people.
Nope.
That makes no sense whatsoever. If you're wanting 150 medics and each one of them you figure is probably serving at least 3 to 5 people, then that's probably going to be closer to what your number is. So there's that.
Yeah, we're in a very dangerous situation here because
Yeah,
the
that's it right
country.
there. Rammstein. That's the place.
So we're in a very dangerous situation here, which is again why nationalism ends up becoming the hallmark of the day, if for no other reason, because people are desperate and they don't know what else to do. We have a ruling class, as I was trying to allude to. We have two major problems working against us right now. We have a ruling class that completely despises us because, again, we are just seen as completely expendable. This is exactly why, again, I'm going to get into it more on Saturday, but something as simple as the fact that they're going to try to convince you now after the story that I did about Candace Owens and either the second shooter or the decoy that was found on the roof, bless you, they're now saying that Tyler Robinson is suicidal. And you have been saying ever since the beginning of this that this was never going to get to trial. Like this was never going to happen.
No,
and
no,
so
this
now
is never, a jury is never seeing this case.
Correct. Which is why the fact that they are dropping these hints right now, they're telling you, yes, it's obvious what we're doing, and we don't fucking care because you're all a bunch of dumbasses who would never step up and fight for what is actually right. And so when I recognize that what we're faced with here is a complete disintegration of the country that we're living in, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to break down some barriers and figure out how to cross-pollinate with people that under normal circumstances you probably wouldn't. But under these circumstances, it's either fight or flight. You have no choice. Because trust me when I tell you, there's a reason why Peter Thiel is finding his way to Argentina and some of these other people are going to be fleeing to go to other places. They know when things are getting really bad here, that things are getting desperate and people don't know what else to do. I'm not saying that you can temper it in any capacity, but what you must recognize is that in this country right now, violence is inevitable. It's already starting. And it will get worse. And when you have people in left politics that you are banking on are actually going to do right by you, she's not even been elected into office yet. She won a primary and she will win the general, but she's not even on Capitol Hill yet. And she's already capitulating to Israel. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, at what point do you say voting
Which is
is
what
not gonna
makes
stop
her,
this?
which is what makes her look like a plant, and which what tells me that her story is bogus.
Yeah.
Hello, Lila.
Mangione monetary theory.
Absolutely.